Okay, YouTube, Todd here again, some guitar guy. First off, thanks for watching. So today I want to talk about not only Lucille, my new to me 1996 Harley Sporty 883 Hugger. It's kind of a lot to say, but also the first fix that I had on the bike, which it's kind of hard to see here in the picture, but is right here. These drips underneath the bike. So, and shame on me for not catching this pre purchase. I didn't. And I didn't catch it until actually on the way home. I stopped at the local cycle gear to pick up a few things. Came out, saw these drips, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. But before I get into them, just real quick, I have installed a chrome battery box and cover, a ignition cover, and I had to order the nut weld from the local Harley dealer, but have that installed. Changed her fluids, plugs with Champion, the current version of the OEM Champion plug, um, Wix filter. All this I found at O'Reilly, so big shout to them. Um, what else? I've cleaned the Screaming Eagle um, intake air filter, which is simply K&N. I've got a quick video before and after on that, and I'm currently working on sorting out the tail light, the crappy tail light and turn signals issue. I think I have that. I think I'm at a good place there, so hopefully soon. But anyway, wanted to update on that. So, kind of back to the leak. Here it is, a better view, and it would leak. Like I said, I'd only ridden it. I don't even think it was 10 miles to cycle gear, and I would see it leak on the ride to work, which is not even 3 miles. So here it is. You see my fingers where I wiped them off, and it was really curious to me because it appeared to be not leaking from the primary or anywhere in the engine, but the clutch cable adjuster. You can see a little bit of the gunk built up, so it leaked out of the adjuster down, and that's where the biggest drip was. And then, like a secondary, and even maybe a third drip back here, and a little bit of gunk here on the fitting into the primary. You can see a little bit of buildup on the frame and the bottom of the case. A little bit better angle there. Um, So I'm like, what in the world is causing this? A leaking clutch cable. So got on Google, got on YouTube, took a little bit, but luckily I found a guy actually down in Georgia. I think his bike then was a Dyna. Had the same problem, had searched around, thought it was the clutch cable. I did post that. That was the universal response, that it's a bad O-ring down here in the fitting. And I'm like, that didn't make any sense how that is going to pump primary lube up here and then have it drip. So his solution was basically this. Okay, so this is the gearbox and primary vent tube on my bike. His bike was, it's a much bigger bike, much easier to get to. You can just look in there and see it and pull it out, clean it, and reinstall it. A little bit different story on the Sporty. But I did find it, and that what you see inside that tube, that blockage, is a dirt or mud dauber nest. All right, so if you're from the southeast, you know what that is. If you're not, I'm sure you don't. So this is something I found on the internet. This is a dirt dauber, wasp, and they build these kind of tube-like nests. I don't know how they wet. They used to make them mud and they dry, and apparently catch spiders and all kinds of other insects and pack in their nest along with their eggs. This is learned this, the female doing the work. So surprise there. That's another look at them. They'll build them on flat surfaces like this, usually on walls that are sheltered from rain, because if they get wet, then it just turns to mud. Or they'll find places that are preformed, which makes their job easier, right? So, like they did in this case. And I do remember growing up, we had a lot of these on the wall in the carport. And like every spring, it was the struggle for my dad to get the lawnmower and the string trimmer and the blower or whatever else to run, because a lot of times a dirt dauber had gone into the exhaust and built a nest. So yeah, that's it's kind of retro problems. Um, so how to find it? Well, good luck. I did, so it is possible. But this is looking in from the left side of the engine inward. So here's your starter. There's the main connection for the starter. Here's your backside of the exhaust and the cross tube. And I honestly don't remember if that's the ignition mount or the battery box. Probably the battery box. Um, and this is the positive battery cable. So a lot of stuff condensed in there, much different than looking in board on one of the bigger bikes. If you move to this angle, this is it right here where this clamp is. This funky same type of clamp here. Not sure what that's called, but they're kind of a pita to get off. It's not the traditional kind of radiator hose screw type clamp. So, and you can like barely get a finger in there to touch it. So I look for it from both sides of the bike. It's actually maybe a little easier to see from the other side of the bike, from the right side looking inboard, and try to trace how it's routed, where it goes, and it goes behind the oil tank. So my first thought was, oh my God, I don't have to take the oil. I already had to take the battery out and the battery tray off just to see it. So I'm thinking, well, now I'm going to have to take the oil tank off just to be able to get down in there to remove this clamp to get the vent tube out. And just for, I found this on the internet, just for a point of reference. Of course, this is the right side of the case, but there it is on this generation Sporty. I think the later models made it a little bit more complicated. So I don't know, even better luck getting the hose off. But fortunately, I didn't have to. I simply fished it out from where it ran, and it ran behind the oil tank, under the seat, and exited somewhere, I guess, just behind the oil tank. I found it under a large electrical connector on the right side near the frame. So I just fished it out, tried to keep the tube below the port or as low as I possibly could, and used a couple of screwdrivers and was, I definitely didn't do it, where the debris would fall directly down into the vent. Tried to minimize that as much as I could. And then I didn't have well, actually, I do think I have somewhere a vacuum pump, but just tried alternating light pressure, light suction, and blowing into the tube until I could finally taste and smell oil. So I figured it was clear then. I'd give it a test the next day, and did, and it's been successful so far. So this is the next day at work. By then it would have, well, this is actually after work, it would have already leaked. It would have already built up enough pressure. Just, I guess, being out in the sun and plus the heat from the rod. So dry asphalt there. That every place else I've checked, that was I don't remember where that was. Somewhere else, and no leaks. And I cleaned the cable off really good. Still looks shiny a bit. The boot does, but that looked to be a brand new cable. Of course, the oil kind of helps that, but the chrome and everything down here, and then up at the handlebar, looked to be brand new. So somebody's unsuccessfully chased this leak too, and it even looks kind of like maybe a new gasket on the primary case. So that turned out to be it. It was simply a dirt dauber nest. I'll get back to that picture. And hopefully, thankfully, this seems to be a pretty rare occurrence. So, and I don't know if these things are limited to the southeast or not, but if you do have a leaking clutch cable from the adjuster, that's probably going to be your culprit. Is one of these little guys has gotten in there and made a home at some point, and chances are somebody's probably tried to trace it down. But I would check here first. This costs $0. Really a fairly quick fix, removing the battery, the tray, the seat comes, it's just one bolt on this solo saddle. Fishing it out, and like I said, make sure and keep this turned downward and as low as you possibly can. Oh, and I will add, on the ride to work, at the stopped at a red light, maybe 2 miles into the commute, it did sound like a tea kettle. Uh, I don't know, just a high pitched kind of squeal. I guess that was the bike clearing, the last of her obstructions or whatever. But it's venting now. If I do ever have the bike down and apart that far, yeah, I'll fish that out and give it a more proper cleaning. But it's worked so far. So that's all I have for today. Thanks again. Please remember, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. And until next time, two wheels down. Thanks, guys.